To order, we just got done
New
with
shadow of a doubt.
our committee of the whole meeting, that's why, and it always says that this meeting starts after that meeting, so that's why it's after the 6 o'clock hour, and in 2. So we will begin by pledge allegiance. Roll call.
Clausen.
Here.
Boccia.
Here.
Doxey.
Here.
Washburn.
Here.
Anastasio.
Here.
Hewitt.
Here. And President DeGroot is excused for another meeting. Sam?
Actually do this first, John.
Just a second, I will read this in first, okay? Tonight, we have a number of public hearings that will all deal with the various zoning issues. I'm going to read the rules of these public hearings, and at this time, and they will apply to all of them. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public hearing form, which you can find in the back table near the entrance. Once recognized, speakers clearly go to the microphone, and when applicable, I will first call people in favor of the application and those then opposed. Speakers must direct all discussions toward the board. We are not allowing interchange between the members of the audience and the petitioner. We request that you do not interfere with or interject comments while other persons have the floor. Please keep all comments on the particular item before the board and no longer than 5 minutes. Sam?
All
And,
right.
oh, excuse me, if you have your cell phones on, please mute them. We don't want any interruptions.
Actually, you can start with A and then recognize them. You can start reading A.
Sam, you want me to go ahead and introduce into the first?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, we're going to open the public hearing for item number 1, which is Ordinance 20-2022 pertaining to the amendments to the zoning map regarding allowing uses and use classification system. Recognizing Sam, who is our leader in this, for an explanation, and is there anyone to speak on this item? And if yes, we will go ahead and follow that way. So Sam, go ahead.
So first up, we have Ordinance 20, which is a zoning map amendment for land along County Trunk Highway H, which is zoning map application 0722. The applicant proposed amending the zoning map for 3 parcels along South Fancher Road, which is County Trunk Highway H. The applicant wishes to develop approximately 200 to 230 townhouse buildings and multi-unit buildings allowed under the moderate density residential 2 district. The application is in coordination with CSM 0722, which proposed dedicating the proper right-of-way from Egan's Way southwest towards a future connection with Campus Drive and a new local roadway which curves northwestwards to connect with County Trunk Highway H. The application follows the land use element of the comprehensive plan. The application also follows the transportation element and land use element of the draft local area plan 5. The application meets the RM2 lot size standards. In terms of a fiscal note, the lands contained with the zoning map application lie within tax increment district number 2. The applicant indicated they plan to request TID assistance for the project. However, the village staff did not receive any financial information with this application. The village assessor estimated the assessed value for each new unit at approximately $150,000 per unit. Therefore, the total assessed value of the project would lie approximately within $30 to $34.5 million. There are other areas for future phases outside of the immediate project scope. Develop on those lands would further raise the assessed value for the total area subject to the rezoning. The village staff and the plan commission recommend the following conditions for approval. 1, the village president shall only sign the ordinance if the village board approves the corresponding certified survey map application CSM 0722. With that, the village staff and the plan commission recommend, the village board move to recommend approval of ordinance 20-2022. The applicant is also here if you have any questions. Otherwise, I can answer any small technical questions before I turn it over to the applicant.
We would answer questions during the item.
We said you're going to have the applicant explain? I didn't hear the last part of you said, Sam. Okay. Introduce yourself, please.
Good evening. Mark Lake from Vanguard Partners. I'm here with Tim Voller as our corporate counsel, and I apologize, Matt Maroney, our president and COO, had a family emergency and he was not able to come tonight. I want to give you two things. One is talk about our phase 2, which is why we're here, and then again also about phase 1. If you remember 4 years ago or so, we were here pre-COVID, back when there really was a world. And we were looking to, and when Jerry Franke said there hasn't been a new apartment building built in this community in a year that began with a 2, well, there's 278 brand new and fully occupied rental units available and full right now. And because of that success, we're looking to come in with our phase 2. So our phase 2 of the development would build units south of where we have the existing property, which is just north of Megan's Way, and then eventually go west. We're looking to build the property just to the south, start construction this fall, have some buildings come online May of next year, 2023, and then have the stuff to the west as we work through engineering and the county approval of the connection at Fancher Road, get all that stuff done, work for 2024, May of 2024 for those additional 7 buildings. We're looking to provide housing as we did in the past. With phase 1, we're looking to provide housing for the workers that live here or that work here in the village of Mount Pleasant or in the immediate area. We have, and I'll do specifics later, but we have, we're represented by Foxconn, we're represented by the hospitals, we're represented by the city of Racine. We have a lot of people that live here and work here. And I think that's important, and we have competitive rental rates that are probably on the lower end of the market, and we're able to do that because we did it in a nice, efficient manner. We would think that we would have the same or near rental rates in our next phases, but hopefully that we'll be able to do that. And when we do, we're going to bring newer units. Our current buildings are 23 units long. Our new ones will be 20. Just shorter, more efficient units. And then we're also going to bring in another type of unit, which is our townhome. So our townhomes will be 10 townhome units. We've had a lot of demand, actually, for our 2 and 3 bedroom units. And that's what the townhome is. So townhome isn't one single unit. Townhome is one unit with 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. And the 2 and 3 bedroom units have been in high demand in our existing, but they want a little bit more space. And a townhome will allow us to do that. The other thing that a townhome will do is allow us to have 2-car garages. So below every unit in a townhome, or 10, will be 2-car garage, entry, and then the bedrooms and such will be up on the second floor. So we look forward to continuing to build as part of Tivoli Green Phase 2. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be here to answer. Thank you.
I do have a question. Maybe it's just a comment. When you put up the first phase with all of the apartments over there, and now they're full, how long did you really anticipate that it was going to take to get it filled? Because it seems like this has been very successful.
Well, we got our first buildings online right before COVID hit. And when COVID came, it seemed to us like it slowed down. There was like, for those 2 or 3 months, nothing. But then shortly after that, they started picking up. And it was actually, once we continued building so that we made sure all of our buildings were up, and we continued to turn over buildings basically once every month or every 6 weeks. The numbers kept creeping up, and we have good internet. We have, so it's a place for people to live locally and work locally. And whether they're working at Emerson or being, they're only a couple miles away from each other, or Foxconn. If you didn't have to work, they had a place to live, and we're all in the same place. So we've had, in some cases, 20, 30 a month recently. And so we've been fully subscribed now since, I think, early this spring or right around the first of the year. And there's a little bit of a waiting list. I think everybody was was looking forward to our clubhouse and our pool, which the last time I went by, it was full. Everybody was utilizing the pool.
Well, with this weather, it's obvious that people are using the pool and not in the clubhouse and in it too, so.
Yeah, and then, the other part of it is, with that whole thing is that the green space is starting to grow back up and stuff, and I think, are there things that we would do differently? Sure, and we'd like to take those, right now, phase 2 will have less density, a little bit more green space, so, but we look forward to it.
Before we go to there, is there any other questions here from the board? Down at Anna Marie, you have any questions?
No,
Ron?
thank you.
I do have a question for the police chief, because last time for the phase 1, there were concerns raised by the neighboring residents about crime rate and the travel, and I'm sure that there are probably a similar concern. So since this has been 100% occupancy, have we had any complaints, about anything, whether it's a travel or crime or something like that? I haven't heard anything, but I thought I'll ask the police chief.
As far as crime goes, we've had minimal involvement there. The calls for service are very, very low. I know that a traffic complaint was just received, I believe, by Tony's office last week. So between the two of us, we're addressing that. But as far as any criminal activity, it's been almost non-existent.
Thank you.
And as far as the traffic one, Chief, what, was it speeding or not stopping or?
Speed and cutting through, using those new streets as cut-throughs from Old Spring to 90th.
And how are you addressing it with officers in position?
Well, as far as a cut-through, if people go through there and they are obeying the speed limit, there's not much you can do. As far as for the speeders, Tony and I are going to get together tomorrow and deal with that a little more.
Okay, we'll open it up to those people. I have a list here of the people who have signed up. See if I can read. Kim Zelke. Come up to the microphone.
Tim.
Please give your name and your address.
It's right on the map.
And the microphone.
It's Tim Zelko, 423 South Fancher Road. So I assume we're the nice little square inside of all that build-out that they're planning on doing. We have the lot, 3-acre lot, and then Josh is right to the north of us, and I see a road in between both our houses. One, I wanted to clarify how they were going to do the phases, because I thought phase 2 was supposed to be south on 92nd, and phase 3 was supposed to then hit us sooner or later, which I'm now hearing is March of 2024, correct? If I heard that correctly? I don't know if I can address him or not, but I'm asking the board if that is what everybody else heard.
You got the same information just a few moments ago that we have.
So it's 2024 for phase with lots 1 and 2 and outlot 1, is my understanding for what the gentleman said. I mean, obviously, putting our land right in the middle of this whole build-out is not exactly somewhere where I prefer to live, let alone having a road, which I don't know why a road needs to be right between my neighbor's lot and our back kitchen window. That's very problematic for us, okay? We moved out here in 1995, 95, right? You know, to be out in the country, okay? Now we're gonna be in the city basically in no time, okay? That's not an opportune thing for us at all. And, you know, it's bad enough to have all these buildings around us, but to have a road basically abutting our property, maybe 15 feet, 20 feet max from my kitchen window. I don't know why that design has to be there. You already have another road going further south and out to Highway H. And I'm assuming this road will connect to your Phase 1 anyway. So why you need to stick a road and just jam it between 2 households is beyond me. My other question was already answered about how the phases are going, but this is not acceptable, since I'm the one probably most affected, along with Josh, what they're doing right now.
But this project has been planned to be done in phases, and this is the phase that's moving forward.
Right, but I don't recall seeing a road in between our 2 households. I thought there was one going out into the field just south of us that would go to H. I thought that was part of the planning, but I'm not too sure why, maybe I missed it the first time around, but why all of a sudden there needs to be a road in between 2 houses is beyond me.
You have any other questions?
No, but I'd like that answered.
Well, this is the public hearing, so that's when everyone who wants to talk gets to talk.
Right.
Later on the agenda, it'll be up for discussion and voting. So the trustees may ask questions of staff or the applicant, but right now, it's just about getting through everyone who wants to speak. Okay?
I spoke.
And, well, is there another, this one, the second one I have here, well, the first one was Kim, the second one is Tim, and he just did it. And then, so, Kim, are you the next one? You want to pass on that? Okay. Then I have a Laura Foss.
She's actually not here. Sorry, I filled out another one.
Have to come up, if you're going to speak, you must come up to the microphone, give your name and address.
Just move on to the next.
Okay, well, then we're going to move on. Peter Johnson.
Name's Peter Johnson. I live at 434 South Fancher. I would be the resident across the street, kitty corner from that jog. So my understanding is that you guys want to build another set of apartments and townhomes. I actually lived in a townhome before. The HOA that I had was terrible. You know, it seems pleasant because you don't have to mow the lawn and that, and shovel the driveway, but ultimately it's a transitional home. You know, for myself being young in construction, I found myself to move out in the country to have a single standing home. You know, I want to be able to build on my land and proceed with, you know, the things that I wasn't able to have. You know, that's this transitional homes, that's what I see it as. I don't see it as long-term homes. I don't see it as people wanting to live somewhere and care about the neighborhood. You know, that's fine. They can come in here short-term and work in the area, but these are people that are not going to stay. What you want to build is single-family homes that are presentable to the new generation that are going to come. Because, no, at all, you know, I would like to improve and build a newer house, or, you know, transition from my house possibly. But, you know, because we know that the market's there's a void. We need housing, but doing townhomes is not the answer. What you need is single-family, small houses, big lots. That's what's gonna bring people into town and be like, wow, Mount Pleasant is the place to be. What we don't need is another downtown out in the country. So I think that's my opinion. I hope that, you know, other people feel the same. I've talked to a lot of people, and what we don't want is townhouses and apartments extending from Project One.
Thank you.
Yep.
Stephen D. Benjaninis, maybe you can pronounce it for me when you get to the microphone. Your printing is clear, but my pronunciation is not correct, I know.
Stephen D. Bettingnees,
Okay.
422 South Fancher Road, directly across the street from the proposed new road. And just looking at the lot lines, I'll see headlights in my front window continuously all night long. We've got a very large front window, and that's what we'll see is headlights. And I agree with Mr. Johnson and my neighbors, we need single-family homes. I'm concerned about, I live on the opposite side of Highway H or South Fancher. I'm concerned about firearm rights and hunting privileges back there, how this may affect the rezoning. If anyone has an idea how it will be affected, please tell me. Does anyone know?
Again, sir, this is time for you to make comments, but it's not a back and forth.
Okay,
Later on, it's gonna come up on the agenda and there'll be more discussion.
thank you for your time.
Next up, Joshua, 347 South Fancher.
I guess these guys kind of touched on some of the stuff that I'm worried about. I'm just to the north of the proposed road there. As you can see on the map, I don't have a ton of room behind my house to where this is proposed these buildings are going to be. Also, it is very close to, I guess where the road's going to be is very close to my driveway and my garage. I don't know exactly how tall these buildings are going to be, but basically, as close as my house is to where this is proposed to be, it's basically going to block out the sun until 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. From what I'm seeing, if there's going to be any height to these buildings. I guess the traffic density kind of concerns me. You know, when I bought this house, I bought it because it was an established neighborhood in a rural-ish environment. I agree, progress happens, but high or medium density housing in an already established rural-ish setting, I don't think is appropriate, desirable, anything. And what's it gonna do to our values as established owners already in that neighborhood? We all take good care of our lawns, we take pride in our area there. And to have this built literally on top of us, I don't think is fair to us as people that have been longtime owners of these properties. I guess that's all I can say right now, and we'll leave the rest for discussion, but
Thank you.
thank you.
Patricia at 422 South Fancher. Okay, your name is on here, that's why. Did you fill this out?
I did fill it out, but not to make comments.
Either for.
Okay, I don't think I have any, we're under here.
Yeah. You can, these are all for the public hearing, so you can just keep calling these.
Well, this one's been up here already, I think. Well, anyway.
Okay, well, he doesn't,
Tim Zelk at 423, you've been up already? Okay, so, because you must have filled out 2 forms. Oh, okay. Somebody filled them out. Travis at 103 Trellis.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks again for your time this evening, Board. Again, many of you probably know me already, Travis Yankee, 103 Trellis Lane. I'm a resident of Mount Pleasant since 2009 when my wife and I built our home in Heartland Village, which is, as you all know, directly north and adjacent to Tivoli Green. I'm here again to voice my opposition to this development, the further development of Wingard and their Phase 2 multifamily dwellings. I've got two main points I want to make again, and I talked at Plan Commission last week about this, a little bit more composed tonight, but again, my main thing is, as others have said, the traffic density and concerns with that. As I mentioned at Plan Commission, when this first was proposed back in 2018-19, myself along with many residents had concerns with the proposed traffic that would be coming through with, again, as Mr. Lake said, 270 units, so just do the math, 1 car per unit, many with 2. At that time, even Trustee Feast voted against it because he knew this was going to be an issue, and here I am today to tell you it is. As mentioned by the police chief, Portico is basically a superhighway for those residents to get out to Old Spring, and you know there might be changes in the future that'll help that, but again, it's high speed, people coming and going at all times of day, and the main concern to that I mentioned is the main bus pickup for our subdivision, 24 plus children, is Portico and Old Spring, and that's a daily concern for parents. I mean, I've been there, folks rushing in and out, people buzzing by to beat the bus because they don't want to wait because, again, I agree here, temporary housing, they're on their way to Milwaukee, they're on their way to Chicago. I, for one, when I built here, and I'll be honest, and a lot of my neighbors too, I don't work in Mount Pleasant. I work in Lake County, Illinois. My wife now works in Madison, and she worked in Milwaukee. These people are not living here. This is transitional. They're here only, many people I've met and talked to, very nice people, they work at the Navy base. They work in Milwaukee. They are not living here. So that statement, I believe, is not true. Along with that is higher traffic burden on Hollyhock coming off the 90th. So folks are coming off of 90th. Great things not to come through the subdivision where the children are, but then they're going up Hollyhock, speeding to Veranda and going to there. So even though that road, and I feel really bad for my neighbors that's going to impact, is a proposed outlet, we know it's not going to happen. If you still live on the north side of the development, if you live on the west side, you're still going to go up Portico. And it was in fact even at Plan Commission last week, Mr. Palm even admitted that my roads are a lot wider, smoother than most roads, and that leads to high speeds. So I mean, our planners admitted that there's high speed traffic going through our subdivision on a regular basis. Your planners, your staff admitted that on record. The second thing that I have concerns with is basically the TIF you guys are going to hand out again. I want to recall for the people here that basically I was here against it, and basically it was rubber stamped like it'll be tonight all the way through and was approved. And at the last minute, Wingard said they were going to walk away unless they got money. Trustee Clausen admitted that to me and others in an email. $10 million TIF was given out. And guess whose burden that probably is? Us, as the taxpayers. It's gone up again. And Mr. Schultz even admitted tonight, there's gonna be another request for funds. Government welfare to support a very successful private business. Go to their website. They have property all over southeast Wisconsin. They are rich, millionaires. Why are we giving them tax dollars to support something that none of us want, that's transitional for folks? And you know, I took offense to Mr. Davis's comments about community. It's not a community, it's transitional. They might be here, they might stop at festival to get something or a quick trip, but they're living and working, they're working in Milwaukee, they're working in Chicago, and they'll be gone in 2 years. And just furthermore, just down the road, when this is 10 or 12 or 15 years from now, and Wingard has made their money and they're gonna walk away and flip it to somebody else, just think about what condition these apartments will be in, these residences, and it's basically in your back door village hall. Do you wanna see something like that in 10, 15 years that has who knows what kind of people? And I know everyone needs a home, but we all know that these things age and the rent has to go down to keep it up. So again, I really am against you guys giving more government handouts to private businesses. Because, my tax dollars, and I'm sure everybody's here, property taxes have gone way up since this board has taken office in the last 5 years. Thank you.
Okay, I do not have any other people that have signed up, or is there anybody who wanted to speak that has not signed up and would fill out a form? Bring it up, please. And give your name and address, please, when you get to the microphone.
John Renzoni, 9112 Dahlia. I live in Heartland Village. Just two comments that I wanted to make. Trustee Batavia, you had asked a question about the crime. I would just say that since the apartments have gone in Heartland Village, we've had 2 houses that had cars stolen from them. Now, whether or not that was people from the apartments, I don't know, but that's happened since then. So I just wanted to let you know, yes, there is crime in our area. The second thing is the tax rate. Travis alluded to that. I guess I'm looking at the point of my assessment last year went up whatever percentage. So I was kind of expecting that my taxes would go up that much. I understand that. Prices of the houses have gone up. Yet my tax rate went up 7% more than that for the village of Mount Pleasant. I don't understand that. I don't understand how with supposedly with Foxconn paying all this money, that why our taxes are still continuing to go up. And as Travis said, why we would be then giving corporate welfare to someone else, I don't quite understand that. Those are my 2 comments. Thank you.
Okay, I do not have any other people that wanted to sign up for the,
He's coming up.
This guy right here.
we have somebody, is for this item?
Yep.
Okay. James Frissell, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and now we have you on the list here.
My name is James Frizzo. I live at 812 South Fancher Road. Been living out there for about 20, own property out there about 20 years or so. So I just arrived back here just now from Florida. I cut my vacation stay a little short by 2 days to get back up here to hear what's going on. That's how much it means to me. That's how important it is. My concerns, I have a few. The fact that I was notified by my neighbors roughly about 4 or 5 days ago that this whole thing was even going to be going on. I had no idea that they were looking to develop this property. One of the concerns that I have is just like the gentleman said, we've got some serious crazy assessments on some of the property values. And I know that everybody complains about that. Having come back from Florida, knowing what the property taxes are in a place like Orlando, which is much more economically vibrant than this area, but yet their property taxes aren't nowhere near. We're getting pummeled to death by our property taxes, first and foremost. I am looking to possibly move because of that. And that'll be a direct result of the policies of Mount Pleasant Board and their assessed values. Outside of that, so far as the development goes, I don't know a lot about it, but I got some serious concerns about some of the how they're going to address construction, water runoff. We've already got a problem at the pond out here on Highway H as you go directly up the hill off to the left. I believe the owners of the property that impacts the most are sitting here in this room. We've had numerous conversations about it. When they put the apartment complex, let me back up. Prior to putting the apartment complex up on Highway H, that is directly as you go up the hill off to the right when you turn off of 20, we never had issues with that pond flooding out. We never had runoff problems that had to be addressed, but we have them almost every year. Those two individuals sitting in the back there, I feel for them because they've had to contend with this probably the most out of anybody in this room. But you go stick in this development there. Have they come forth and given us any information on their intent so far as mitigating any water runoff, damage, how all that's going to work, how that's going to impact all the properties around what it is that they intend to do? Because that's a serious concern. It's a serious concern to people that have had to contend with basement issues, basement flooding up to this point. So that's another thing. But my one of the big problems I got is it just seems like we didn't have much notice of this whole thing. Maybe you've posted something publicly. If you have, I'm curious. What is the date that you guys publicly or went public with this announcement? Is there anybody here that can answer me that?
Sir, this is public hearing, so that means you talk and we listen later on in the agenda.
That's one of my concerns.
We can discuss.
Yeah, that's one of my concerns. Is the short notice of this whole thing, and now as a neighborhood, we've got to contend with dealing with this going forward. I want to log my. I guess at the end of the day, my rejection of this happening, if at all, that's something that you guys take into consideration. I definitely don't want to see something like this getting built right across the street from where I'm at. I have concerns over the traffic issues it's going to cause. Right now, Highway H is, in the last 10 years, the traffic situation there has gone through the roof. It's crazy. This is going to overload that road. That's things that you guys need to consider and that I ask that you consider.
Yeah, I have one question of you. When you filled this out, you did not indicate that you are for or against. You want me to mark one of these for you while I have this in my hand?
Let's take a vote.
I'm asking you.
I understand. I'm trying to make a little lighthearted joke, but yeah, I am against.
Because I'm going to put these in here. Okay, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Having no other speakers signed up for this one, we are going to move on.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to sort of add in that I have just kind of off.
Please recognize you and name it.
My name is Robin Palm. I'm the planner here. We have also received some input via phone, email, and other kind of exchanges. Nothing that I can basically report into the record as far as names and addresses because they didn't give me that express permission. But some recognition of the improvement in general of the area and dedication to bringing something that is a little bit more walkable and a little bit more modern to this area. Also appreciating some of our concern for keeping the traffic speeds down and the overall traffic pattern here, as well as the increased amount of amenities such as the campus park and other kind of efforts that we're doing around here. So those are calls that I've received. Sometimes some people like stuff, you never know.
And you would label those which, yay or nay?
They seem generally at first apprehensive, but after going through, some of the explanations, generally supportive.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to then close the item number 1, and we'll move on to item number 2, which is ordinance 22-2022 pertaining to amendments to the zoning code regarding sidewalks and pedestrian circulation. Recognizing Sam for this explanation.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an ordinance zoning text update for sidewalks and pedestrian circulation. Currently, the village requires sidewalks or multi-use pathways to be provided along all sides of every lot that abuts a public street for all new construction. One of the issues that we've had, and this was at the Zoning Board of Appeals last week, is in rural areas where sidewalks are not connecting to any existing sidewalk networks and don't really make sense. We were looking for a relief valve through the zoning text that is different than a strict variance, which runs with the land and grants them kind of a little bit more permanent ability to prevent a sidewalk from preventing them from having to install a sidewalk. So the proposed ordinance reads, if the Community Development Director, Public Works Director, and the applicant for a proposed development agree to the following conditions, the village may accept a payment in lieu of sidewalk or multi-use path. The village shall set the payment amount using the village's 5-year average of sidewalk construction costs per square foot. The village shall place the payment in a fund exclusively used for new or upgraded pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure. And the conditions for those are as follows. The construction of a sidewalk or multi-use pathway is impractical or infeasible. The lot does not currently lie adjacent to any existing sidewalk or multi-use pathway. The village does not plan to construct adjacent sidewalks or multi-use pathways in the village's 5-year capital improvement plan, and the village adjacent roadway uses a rural cross-section. So in effect, they could pay a fee instead of constructing a sidewalk in very limited circumstances, as those conditions outline. With that, I can answer any questions.
Okay, first of all, I do not have anybody who has signed up for this second item. Is there anybody, after hearing the explanation, that would have a question or want to speak on this? One last time. Okay, I do not have anybody signing up for this at all. Hearing that no one is in the public hearing, we'll make item number 2 closed, and we'll move on to number 3. Ordinance 23-2022 pertaining to the amendment in the zoning code regarding authorized administrative adjustments. Recognizing Sam again.
Actually, this is me. This is on me.
Okay.
I guess the shorthand for this would basically be a measure to have reasonable accommodations for persons with disabilities in the Village of Mount Pleasant zoning code. Basically, the long and short of it is that the Community Development Director may approve administrative adjustments that grant relief from any provision of the zoning chapter to accommodate disabled persons. Disabled persons shall be 1, defined according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, 2, the owner or tenant of a property. B, such relief shall 1, relate to the person's disability, 2, be the minimum necessary to grant relief and full enjoyment of the property, and 3, modify zoning requirements for existing or new housing for an occupant with a disability. The Zoning Board of Appeals may approve any application that meets the spirit but not the full letter of these requirements, and then the process will follow procedures set forth in 9490.110 administrative appeal. Basically, our thought process about this was came up during our zoning code rewrite a long time ago, but it got kind of looked past. The normal kind of way we've been doing this is a variance. However, legally, variances have to do with the property. And if a person has a disability, that is not about the property, that is about them. So legally, most of those requests for accommodation, such as a ramp, such as a fence for a small disabled child or something like that, would have to be denied. This is so way that us as zoning staff can give zoning relief from something that unfairly affects those individuals in our community. And it has come up in front of our zoning board of appeals several times before in the past, and they just did the nice and morally correct thing and just kind of let it through. But this is a way for us to do that that's legally above the board. So that with further more, I'll let it to you guys.
Okay, and again, I do not have anybody signed up for this item. And so we, unless there's any public comment, questions on that particular item? Okay, then we will close that part, item number 3, and close the public hearings on regarding these items there, Hank. And we'll move on to the rest of our agenda for this evening. And that would be public comment other than what we've already heard on anything. Anybody sign up for public comment? Having seen or heard none, then we will move on to...
Hold on.
You can come up again and your name and address again. And did you fill out another form?
This is the agenda. I'll do that. I just walked in on the tail end of your instruction to do all that.
Go ahead.
Hold on, before he goes, why don't you read the public comment instructions on the agenda? Right here.
Under the public comment,
Members of the public.
members of the public are welcome to provide comments on any matter. Please fill out a comment form, and I, or the president, and I'm filling in tonight, will recognize you, and you use the microphone and state your name and address. For the public record, comments are limited to 3 minutes. So I need a form for you to give to me.
And this is separate from the public hearing on the rezone.
Yeah, the public hearings have been closed. This is strictly public comment on other items.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
My name is James Frisso. I live at 812 South Fancher Road. From what I'm seeing, just in the short time that this meeting has been gone on, I look around this room, and what I see here is all my neighbors. I see my neighbors that live all up and down Highway H. As a matter of fact, most, if not all, but most of my neighbors that live on that section of the road are sitting here right now tonight. And as I've only been here possibly 15 minutes, everybody is looking at each other pretty much with shock. They're in shock that this thing has been dumped on us. We've been hit over the head with it pretty much out of the blue. And it's really something that I think people should be ashamed of. We should have a lot more information than what we have right now. And I want to know why we don't have more information about the plans, all of these, anything that's going to affect our neighborhood. We should have information about it. And you guys haven't given us anything other than, come on, sit down, we're having a little meeting and we're going to talk about an apartment complex that we want to slam up in your neighborhood. You haven't said anything to us. I've heard this gentleman talk about being able to get around disablement, what have you, legally. You know what? That doesn't sound too neighborly to me. It doesn't sound like the kind of person I want to have in my neighborhood or the kind of facility I want to have in my neighborhood, quite honestly. People are sitting around here looking at each other because they're in shock and they don't know what to do. And we entrust you people on the board to look out for our interests. And right now, the only interest that I see being looked out for is a tax base, a way for you guys to make more money. You've put up enough warehouses in Mount Pleasant. Isn't that enough? You talk about making the place better. You talk about making it more friendly Tell me how those warehouses did that. Once again, you guys are failing us. You're failing us. You're not taking us into consideration. You throw this on and hit us over the head with it at the last moment, and then, yeah, we're all here. They don't need to get up here to make a statement. Them coming out here, you know how many people from Highway H ever come to your meetings? But they're here tonight, aren't they? They're making a statement. They may not know what to say, but this is damn ridiculous. And I'm ashamed to have...
Please do not...
I'm ashamed to have... to know that you guys are going to sit up here and advocate for big business, not the little neighborhood guys, the people that made Mount Pleasant, the small community it started out with. That gentleman right there with the green shirt and the woman right there with the pink shirt, they've been living out here since the 50s. Since the 50s. They've seen a lot of change. The change that used to take place back in the day was change that was for the community good. It wasn't for money, and it wasn't for a tax base. And I, again, reject this being able to happen, and I hope that you guys will go and take a little more time to converse and maybe even some time to talk to some of these people out here and get some personal opinions from them. Some of these people are not going to be brave enough to get up here. They're nervous, they're scared.
Your time is running out, sir.
Well, again, it's our community, it's our road. You got almost every one of us from Highway H lined up in this room right here, and we're all against it. Thank you.
And let me clarify something. You can talk about whatever you want during this period. We've had people come in and actually read a recipe to the board. You can say whatever you want, but there's a legal process for any rezone. Part of the legal process is a public hearing, which we've had. And so all I'm trying to tell you is that public hearing, the legal record, that's closed. However, you absolutely can talk about whatever you want in your 3 minutes. Okay?
I do not have any other people that have signed up or requested to speak during public comment. So we will close the public comment and go on to the consent agenda.
Excuse me, I actually walked up and gave you a slip for public comment.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Oh. Are you?
What's your name?
This, Peter? Okay. You didn't check on something, but that's okay. Come on up.
Again, name's Peter Johnson at 434 South Fancher. You know, listening to the other comments from the other residents that live in the area, there was a good point that was brought up, and that was the water mitigation. When Mount Pleasant came and put a high-pressure water main on Highway H, the contractor that was contracted to do that work ended up coming in, ripping out from, let's say, roadway, you know, into the easement. And they came in, put their water main in, and went through. There was a portion that actually went from south of me, underneath some railroad tracks to tie into the industrial park. That area has been disastrous for myself. The contractor came in, ripped up a bunch of irrigation lines and resisted fixing it. My understanding was that the contractor saw them, didn't have any inclination to fixing them, and wasn't fixed properly still. There was one line that was fixed out of 3 known, and the residents had told the contractor to fix them. So with that happening, my backyard flooded. My neighbor Steve's backyard is received extra water as well. I didn't see any sort of retaining pond in this construction plan. You know, once you start tearing up the ground, compacting it, putting asphalt, and you're taking away green space, you have to divert the water somewhere. If it's either in the sewers or in a retaining pond, you have to put that structure in. And I don't see any structure other than sewer. That is something that you guys have to consider, because that water is gonna go somewhere, and it will be in my backyard, might be in my basement. And that's something that's gonna be directly impacting me and my neighbors.
Thank you for your comments. And not having any other people asking to speak regarding that items, I will then again move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Hewitt, I move to approve the consent agenda with the items as listed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor, by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Okay, Mr. Acting President, we got another public hearing form by Mr. Frisco. He's already used his 3 minutes at public comment, and the public hearing is closed. So there's no other public comment, but we'll take his written comments and put it in the record here.
Thank you. Finance Legal.
Trustee Hewitt, I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 6-2022, declaring the intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing.
Second.
Motion and a second on on Resolution 6-2022. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, we approve that motion. Second one.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 7-22 for an amendment to the stormwater paving budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 7-2022, amendment on stormwater paving. All in favor?
Mr. President, Mr. Hewitt, Trustee Hewitt, under discussion.
Any discussion?
Yeah, under discussion, I just think for the benefit of the public that's here, what we found in the stormwater drainage district and through the paving program was that while we were doing the paving program, we always were digging underground, right? And in several of the areas, we had a big paving area this year, big paving program. And so what we do when we're going into those roadways is we will make repairs as we find them. Many of those repairs were not noticeable above ground until the work actually commenced. So the additional monies that we're asking for here, which were to increase the storm sewer budget by $75,000 and the capital outlay paving program by $20,000, were to accommodate those items that we found as we were going and we made the repairs, as opposed to leaving it unrepaired or coming back and having to tear out a newly repaired road to repair something at a later time. So we typically make these adjustments during the paving program, and we do have the money, we move it around within the budget. So just for explanation for those citizens that are here tonight. That's all, thank you.
Ram?
Yeah, well, I was about to make almost the same comment, so the only thing I want to add is for both item 1 and 2, these are the detailed discussion we just had in the committee of the whole meeting. So this board is not just approving based because of the motion, because we have had discussion.
Correct.
And we have the input from the staff, and we understand what the issues are.
Any other? Motion, take a roll call.
Clausen?
Aye.
Boccia?
Aye.
Doxy?
Aye.
Washburn,
Aye.
Anastasio,
Aye.
Hewitt.
Aye. Motion passes.
I make a motion to authorize staff to pursue an agreement for the securitization of opioid settlement funds, specifically the distributor scheduled local government payments as presented.
Second.
Again, trustee Hewitt, under discussion. Oh, Chris, were you gonna?
If that's okay.
Go ahead, please do.
Okay, so this is, for some of you who have been here for many years, you remember this issue going back where the village decided to opt out of a class action lawsuit that was pending in the state of Ohio. And it was a long and winding road that included getting the actual state law changed to make sure that we were included. But the result was that we were included in the settlement. We're included in a very small amount of municipalities. I'd say throughout the state, there's probably less than 20, easily less than 20, that are getting funds here. The total amount of funds that are due to us in the settlement that you approved earlier this year is $262,000 and change. The reason it's on the agenda tonight is because a number of counties, governmental entities, some of the other municipalities are exploring the option of what's called securitization. And the easiest way I can explain it is, I'm told, I wish I had personal experience, but I'm told when you win the Powerball, you can take the lump sum or you can take the annuity, okay? So Stephanie should have sent out a memo that I wrote that also included a spreadsheet. And basically what that entails is there's two settlements that we're talking about as part of this same lawsuit. One was with Janssen. That's the smaller of the two. It equals $49,000, just under $50,000. That is spread out through payments starting this year, about $10,000 this year, and then payments through 2031. That will not change. That is not what we're talking about tonight. What we're talking about tonight is the larger portion, which is known as the distributor settlement. That equals about just under $214,000. It would begin with two payments this year, about $18,000, and then a number of scheduled payments through 2038. The total, if we took those payments through 2038, would be $213,000 and change in today's numbers, today's money. The option for securitization, and I'm not asking for formal approval tonight, I'm asking whether you want me to pursue this idea, which a number of governmental entities have, would mean that we would get about $135,000 this year, with the residual payments spread over the next number of years through 2038, with the total amount being $195,000, about $196,000. So as I said, that's kind of the direction I'm asking for, is should I pursue this and then potentially bring a contract back to the board with actual numbers? These are estimates, but they should be pretty close, for the securitization, or should we say, no, we just want the yearly payments through 2038? That's kind of it. Because the financial institution is looking to see if there's a critical mass amongst counties, local governments that are participating, because if there's enough entities involved or interested, then it'll work from their side. I'm not making a recommendation on this because I'm not, finance is not my area of expertise. And it's more of a financial decision. The only thing I'll say from a legal perspective is the thing that I think weighs in favor of doing the securitization is if for some reason through this settlement the distributors stop making their payments as they're supposed to be making, if we do the securitization, we're not the ones that, are out. It's the financial institution. The risk shifts, okay? Obviously, it shifts at a premium. As I stated, they get paid more over the time, but we also don't have the risk of the payments stopping over that time either. So that's all I have, and I'm just looking for direction on whether or not to look into this, to try to negotiate a contract, and bring it back to you for final approval, or if you tell me, let's just take our payments over time, that's fine too, then I won't do that.
Yes, I got a comment and a question. My comments are, in my previous business life, I have dealt with these kind of issues, and I think securitization is always a good idea because it's based on the present value of the money instead of waiting whatever 10, 15, 20 years to get the money. So I think it's a good idea. And the other reason that our attorney Chris Smith mentioned that it also alleviates any risk in case if the distributor goes on default because they like the money. So for those reasons, I'm going to support that the proceeding, Chris. My question is maybe for Mike. Mike, on the spreadsheet, there's only one column which I am trying to understand, and that is, okay, first of all, the distributor schedule payment is 213,744. That is clear because that will become 195,965 if we go the route of the securitization. But what's the next column? Total scheduled LG payment for 268. What's that column mean?
Do you mean the 262,873?
Yeah, 262.
That is the total of the distributor and the Janssen.
Okay.
So
okay,
Janssen
okay.
is already all the way on the left.
I
That's
should
the-
have added that. Okay.
Yeah,
So the two.
mhm.
Okay. The two
That's our
columns.
total
Thank
amount.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yep.
I agree with
This.
trustee Batya.
I agree.
I think that, I know that it isn't for sure that we would get the securitization, but at least to look into it and to keep that option open would be a good idea.
You have a motion?
It's made. We're on the discussion.
We had a motion, we had discussion.
Is there any other questions on it?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that we have an excellent finance department. I think with the money in our control, we have the ability to invest it. We have the ability to hold it and manage it, and we have less long-term and overall risk. So I again would voice I would be in favor of looking in, continuing on with the securitization.
Anybody else have comments on it?
Agreed.
And I'll just say that, because I don't know if this will come up much in the future, because the money is coming in this year. Obviously, if I can negotiate something on the securitization after you take the vote, assuming it passes, we'll bring it back. But for those of you that supported this idea to opt out of the class action, which I believe it was unanimous, you did a good job, because like I said, almost no villages, towns, and cities in the state of Wisconsin are getting anything here.
And I think, Chris, when we've talked about this in the past, it was an idea you brought to us. We had no idea that this was even out there. And you knew about it, you brought it to us, and as a comparison, the city of Racine did not opt out. So they are not getting a dime, and based on the criteria and the qualifications, they let go of an opportunity for 7 figures potentially. So we really did take advantage of this, Chris, with your guidance, so we're gonna continue to follow your guidance as we look forward to making the final decisions on it. But thank you for doing that.
Well, you guys voted for it, and that's why it happened, but the only Racine County municipalities that are getting anything besides us are Sturtevant, Union Grove, and Yorkville, and we're getting substantially more because it's based on population, but.
Any other comments? Trustee Anastasio, you have a,
Nope, I'm ready for the vote. I think we already had the motion in a second.
yes.
Yeah. Yes?
Yes, okay, so you can just, all in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay, next one. Trustee Bahadia?
But yeah, Mr. Acting President, item number 1, I make a motion to approve the County Trunk Highway H certified survey map application CSM 07-22, subject to recommended conditions.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the South Fancher County Highway H certified survey map application. Roll call.
No,
Sam.
We have to do Sam.
Mr. Chair, a brief explanation. This is the certified survey map related to the zoning map amendment that was up at the public hearing earlier tonight. The applicant proposed splitting the existing 3 parcels into the following parcels. So it's a combination and redivision. Lot 1 is 8.3 acres. Lot 2 is just under 4.3 acres. Outlot 1 is 3.4 acres. That is planned for the required stormwater detention. And they also have rights-of-way dedication for 3 public roadways as shown: Campus Drive, Megan's Way, and Tivoli Green Lane, which they have opted to rename Anderson Boulevard. The applicant wishes to develop approximately 200 to 230 townhouse buildings, as we've previously discussed, and this application is in coordination with Ordinance 20-2022. This complies with the land use element of the comp plan and the transportation land use element of the draft local area plan 5. In terms of CSM standards, those are subdivision chapter 74 standards. The applicant shall amend the CSM to show boundaries of the primary and secondary environmental corridors and isolated natural resource areas as delineated and mapped by sewer pack. The applicant shall also show any wetland boundaries, which is condition number 1. For condition number 2, we have the applicant shall amend the name of Tivoli Green Lane per section 74 to .7.2.9, which prohibits newly platted streets named after adjacent businesses or landowners. That's condition number 2. The village staff did not receive any cross-sections as part of the submittal. However, the applicant must include sidewalks along all public streets, street trees along all public streets, and street lamps at street intersections only. The application meets the RO1 lot size standards. In terms of a fiscal note, generally a similar fiscal note to the one we have before. With a little bit more detail, the village staff estimates the project would use approximately 10.5 to 9.1, and that's actually been revised down to between 8 and 9% of the taxes it pays over 20 years towards the cost of repaving the adjacent local and collector roadways. That's greater than the 6.7 the village spent over the previous 5-year average towards its paving program. That showing the development does not adequately cover its share of the public infrastructure and maintenance costs. However, these estimates include sections of Megan's Way, which is a collector street, which do not have any proposed adjacent construction in coordination with this application. Therefore, the village staff assumed development on other areas open for development by the extension of Megan's Way would decrease the tax percentages needed for repaving. The project's estimated value per acre is about $1.7 to $1.95 million, which is above the village's target of about $1 million an acre. With that, the village have the 2 recommended conditions for approval, and both the village staff and the plan commission recommend the village board move to approve the CSM as shown. Can answer any questions. This is really regarding the land split as shown on the screen in front of you.
Sam, we heard many comments to this this proposed. Obviously, it was against the regarding the zoning, but one of the comments is the road going next to the neighbors or between the 2 houses.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that? And maybe Vanguard or somebody, how do we address that concern?
So if you mean the concern of it existing, you could approve or deny or amend the certified survey map as shown. The staff aren't drawing these up. We take them as they're submitted. So we review them to see if they meet the subdivision standards as outlined in the subdivision code for which these applications do. Regarding that northern roadway, specifically, one of the things I'll mention is that the county technically has to approve its connection to County Trunk Highway H. Fancher Road is a county trunk highway. So we have no local village control over that roadway's connection to the county or whether they approve it at all, and the traffic that goes up and down H. So that's all under the county purview. That said, the traffic is pretty low comparatively on County Trunk Highway H. The recent traffic counts show it at about 5,000 to 8,000 vehicles a day, and a 2-lane roadway with improved turning lane movements can handle about 15,000 cars a day. So it's under the required traffic engineering standards for it. However, that said as well, with a site plan application, because they are proposing more than 100 units, we'll need to see some traffic engineering before the Plan Commission could recommend approval or denial of any development for the proposed areas. In terms of the existing traffic and the future traffic out there, you have kind of two competing concerns, right? If you force more traffic onto existing roadways, you're obviously increasing the traffic counts on those existing roadways. So that'd be Megan's Way, Campus Drive, 90th Street H. In general, the more connections you have, the more dispersed traffic is across the street network. So there are certain benefits in terms of distributing that traffic through multiple street roadways. Consequently, the neighbors do have legitimate concerns about traffic, the existing roadway kind of pinching in between those two properties there. One of the things, we've been taking notes in the back here, so one of the things that we can use to address that through the site planning process is to make sure there's adequate screening to the existing residential properties from both the planned multifamily development, the planned townhomes, as well as the existing street right-of-way. So I think there are zoning tools that we currently have adopted that will help mitigate those concerns. I understand on the map as it currently looks like, it looks like kind of a big roadway going through, but there's obviously, that is the full width of the right-of-way. That's not a street north to south. So there's street trees and, other landscaping required within that right-of-way too, as well as sidewalks and things like that. So
Thank you
hopefully
again.
that addresses your main questions.
Yes, it addressed my question, and again, that's the reason I asked, because as we discussed at the Planning Commission and as part of the process, when the site plan comes for review and approval, the staff and the Planning Commission, we will be looking at details and try to alleviate or mitigate some of those concerns.
Certainly. One of the other things of why I think the roadway is proposed as it is that the existing shape of the parcel is fairly awkward with those existing residential properties kind of cut in off of H there. And so this kind of surrounds the existing properties there. So you need some sort of access to provide land access to that development in the northwest. So there was always going to be some sort of roadway there to provide access to that northwest corner. The exact shape is the one that's shown in front of you up for vote, but it was our anticipation that there would always be some sort of either public roadway access, private access, something like that across the site.
Right. And my number 2 question would be, not on that map, but the one that we had earlier, but maybe even here we can see on the northwest corner where the Tivoli Green Lane is supposed to go to Fonche Road. The land up, that's not being developed. So your condos or the apartments are being shown east of that, correct? Yeah. So I want to be clear. This unplatted land and one above the road, what is that called? Like parcel 1. You are not planning to build anything in those right next to the Fonche Road, correct?
Where's the map?
Yeah.
Parcel 1.
If we've got these questions so the public can hear that answer, please.
Yeah. The reason I'm asking is again for the public, because we heard the comments. So there are houses on the Fonche Road, but by your what it says here, parcel 1, there is no condos to be built. So the condos will be built, a building will be built east of those, as shown in the map, the 2 of them.
Our plan right now is to, lot 1 is for the stormwater pond. Lot 1 or a portion thereof, Lot 1, which is shown on the property at 8.3 acres, we'll have, I think there was four, on one of the other drawings, on the rezoning, I think it has it, but there's 4 buildings
Correct.
on that side. And then on the north side, I think there were 3 buildings
Right,
on the
but-
north side of Tivoli Green Lane, which is renamed to Anderson Boulevard.
Yeah, but my question is the map that we have on the screen,
Yep.
on the parcel 1, which is shown right above the Tivoli Green, which goes to the Fancher Road. In parcel 1,
I don't think that's
Parcel
their
1
property.
is his property. That's
Yeah.
Josh's property.
okay, so
And
that's his
then-
property.
And then the doctor has the unplatted lands.
Okay, so the first building which is not shown here, but where the road curves up and
Yep.
you're showing, and you plan to build 2 buildings.
Two buildings north
Yeah.
of that, where it says lane, two
Right.
north of that.
So how far is the first building from this gentleman's property?
From his property,
Yeah, from the property line, say like approximately from the east,
the building probably at least 50 feet
at least 50 feet.
From his house?
Yeah,
from the lot line.
From the
yeah,
lot.
from the lot line.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the lot line.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Trustee Hewitt? Mr.
There's some
Hewitt?
questions.
Trustee Hewitt? From the chair to Sam, one of the comments that Mr. Lake made during the Plan Commission was talking about the change in the number of units. I think that I was not a trustee when the first phases of the Wangard subdivision were approved, but I was on the Community Development Authority, and we approved the TIF funds for it. Could you speak a little bit to the history of this? Because from the questions coming from the abutting property owners on Fancher Lane, or on Highway H, excuse me, it's making it sound like this is a brand-new development that has never been talked about. It's my understanding, from the time we approved this and including it in TID 2 several years ago, that this is now the expansion of that first phase. The number of units that we're talking about now is actually less than the original densities that were proposed by Wangard earlier on. Could you clarify some of the history of this so that for those of us that weren't on the board when it was originally approved, we have an understanding?
I think you've done a pretty good summary. And Mark brought up in his presentation as the applicant, the addition of the townhomes and the reduction in the size of the stacked flats buildings, I think contribute to that decrease in density. Originally, the kind of original phasing was looking at some potentially 3-story buildings along that Megan's Way frontage, which have gone down to 10-unit townhomes that are 2 stories tall. And those stacked flats have reduced in size down from 23 down to 20, which is a requirement of our zoning code. They would max out at 20 units per building under the RM2 zoning for which they're applying. So I think in general, between some of the preliminary plans that were in front of you as a CDA member and the village board at the time of the phase 1, A and B approval, closer to Heartland Village, there has been a reduction in the number of units.
So again, my point is, this is now an expansion. I think early on, when the project came to us, at that time, the estimated build-out was a little bit longer. In other words, the success you've had there in renting those out to 100% occupancy in the time that you've had, which is less than almost 2 years since you started construction, is pretty phenomenal. It definitely speaks to the demand in the market. So I think that one of the things I'm very happy about making clear is that when we looked at this before, it also was a rental project. It was always deemed a for rent type of community. And I think the other very important part about this is that typically the Wangard group keeps their projects. These are legacy projects that are in their portfolio that they keep and whatever perpetuity is, you know, we all know that that has the ability to change, but they're well managed. And we were very careful about that when we looked at this as a TIF project, and we looked at the project several years ago. Not sitting in this seat, but it was very, very important that there was integrity there for the developer, so that we were putting behind the millions of dollars we were committing to it, a quality project for the village of Mount Pleasant. And I think that's still a very, very important part of the discussion. I think having the experience I have with development, traffic, and so forth, I know that when this was at the Plan Commission last week, Travis, in your conversations with us, you're very concerned about the amount of traffic you've gotten now. We do have plans, as our planner Robin Palm spoke to, of making substantial changes so that the existing homes in Heartland are not going to get the amount of traffic through them that they see now. We want to see that change. And I truly believe, based on the employers that I believe Mark alluded to, we have Foxconn there, we have Case Company there, that with the addition of some of these internal roads, I truly believe that you are going to see some of that traffic impact go south and start to take away from and not move through the existing Heartland Village. And I would like to see that for the people that live in Heartland as well. This is the certified survey map that we're talking about at this point. It is, and along with the zoning. We still have a number of stages, if I'm not mistaken, that the Plan Commission will be looking at, as will the Village Board, for their buildings, for the site plans, the architectural control, the way it's going to look, the way it's going to function. And not only that, in talking about your concerns over stormwater management, there's literally a 3.5 acre outlot that is being dedicated strictly to stormwater management. The village engineers, it's my understanding, have not seen, would that be correct, Sam? They haven't seen all of the engineering, the final engineering for this project yet.
That's correct.
We still have to go through that.
But they will have to approve it all.
They will have to go through that engineering exercise, and they will have to meet all the codes and so forth. I think that Highway H is, you know, I know some of you that live there. I think that it's a very interesting road in that it's one of those areas in Mount Pleasant that isn't unsimilar to where I live. It started out to be a very rural part of our community. And at this point, it's become a connection point to Franksville, to Highway 20, down to Sturtevant. And I think that every time we see a big development like this coming before us, when you're the neighbor living there, it's your whole world's going to change, and it's going to bring tremendous change to you personally. I think that, again, because of the history, because we've approved this project as a whole years ago, there's actually less density that we're talking about now than we were before. I think that we're very well aware of the concerns that the residents have. Because we've gone through this before as a village, we tried to take a lot of that into account. So I think at this point, based on all of the conversation we've had historically, as well as tonight and the points that the developer has brought to us, I'm going to sit in support of it and continuing to move it forward. I think in terms of notice, I apologize that I don't have your name correctly, but the gentleman that just returned from out of town, this was a zoning item, and so there is public notice in the newspapers, as well as our website, as well as direct mailings sent to, I believe, Sam, again, if you could.
Pardon me?
Per state statute, we send public notices to everyone within 300 feet of the affected properties.
300 feet.
John?
And that's normal procedure and required.
That's required per Wisconsin state statutes.
The 300 feet to,
The 300 feet, correct.
yes.
And that was for the zoning application. So the certified survey map, did that require any kind of notice?
Well, yes, the typical public posting areas, but it doesn't require direct mailers.
Okay, so the zoning is what triggered that 300-foot residency requirement of notice.
Correct.
And those notices were sent. So the fact that some of these people found out about it through their neighbors and through just the conversation in the neighborhood is another way of finding out about it, but there was no requirement to notify people on the other side of the street or further away from the property than 300 feet.
That's correct.
Okay.
Plus, the hearings also were noticed in the paper.
Can I add something?
Yes.
And this doesn't affect anything going forward, from what's happened from then until now. But you can go to our website and sign up for agendas. And I would strongly encourage you to do that. You can get delivered right to your email box our Planning Commission agendas. Everything regarding this will go to Planning Commission by and large, except for possibly some of the TID information, will not go through Planning Commission. But you can opt into whatever body you wish to follow. The two big ones here in this community are the Planning Commission and the Village Board. You can get those agendas emailed directly to you. Highly recommend that you do that going forward.
Okay, I have two questions on this, or two things I'm thinking about on this. One is, how long has this roadway going to H, Sam, been in the plans? Between the two homes?
Between the two homes, we don't really have specific plans to do that. However, the land access was a part of this submittal. So we've seen this direct kind of layout for the last 45 days, I would say, 30 days
Okay.
since they submitted. That said, you know, as I said before, that northwest corner, we always anticipated there would be some sort of land access, pavement, vehicular access to that northwest corner.
Okay, where I live on Gideon's, this makes me, I agree with what I'm hearing out here from some of the people. I run up and down Gideon's for exercise, and I've got people, because now we've become a through street, and I got people coming through there at 50 miles an hour on a regular basis when I'm running. I can see this becoming a problem here for people that might be wanting to do the same thing. And the other thing I have on this that I don't like is it seems like we're packing a whole bunch of buildings in here from where I'm looking at. And hold on, in this, we here always talk about green space, and we want to have green space, and it seems like we're taking away a lot of green space with this. I know I'm only new here, and this was in the plans prior, but it does seem like we're just taking away a lot of green space from people who have expected to have it here behind them, and I just don't like it myself, this plan. I think we could look for a better one. Still have buildings back here, but maybe not so much. So,
Sam, Robin, got any comment?
Okay, several things. One, hi, Robin Palm. One, this particular connection right here, the developer stated that in Plan Commission that this connection was basically as a result of a direct promise to people in the Heartland Village community that the developer would try to connect to Highway H as soon as possible. You heard here tonight people complain about through traffic on Portico and through Heartland Village. This would alleviate that concern because people wouldn't have to go through theirs to use that as a cut through. They could immediately go out to H through that community without going through Portico. So that makes some people here happy, probably some people here maybe less happy. That's sort of why you guys are here and make the tough decisions. And two, the alternative to that would be to wait till Campus Drive is complete. The Campus Drive extension has been a part of our sort of plan since this project was originally envisioned back in 2018. That is a very expensive project, needs to be fueled by development. So if this doesn't go through and we don't get more development, there's no Campus Drive. So there's no additional connections to H, and the cars will continue to use whatever means they are currently using as a cut through. So you have choices. Not all of them are necessarily going to please everyone. But we feel that a current connection to H is probably in the best interest of a lot of people. And further development fueling a connection via Campus Drive is what was envisioned all along. Yeah, the other thing is about particular stormwater things that were brought up. One thing that hasn't been mentioned is that Vanguard Partners are partnering with Root Pike Wind to sort of redevelop the existing retention pond right here on 90th Street to beautify and have that actually be more effective. And as well as village staff is trying to get other kind of things involved, such as other green infrastructure to mitigate stormwater effects, as well as traffic calming. In order, so yeah, people are going to be driving through it. That's the point of roads, but we want them to drive a little bit slower, and so people can walk and people can jog on the side of the road and stuff like that. So we know that going forward, and that is something. But ultimately, the site plan is not in front of us. We don't have that. We just received that, and we are going through a review process. We don't know how far the buildings are going to be exactly from these property lines. We know how far they have to be at minimum, but we don't know how that's going to end up in the final site plan, because that is to be determined by the Plan Commission, staff, and the developer. Did that answer all your questions? I'm sorry, I'm very verbose sometimes. That's why I speak as little as possible.
You did. So,
You're satisfied?
well, I'm satisfied with that, what he's talking about. I'm still not satisfied with this.
But that's,
That goes on in the future.
Denise?
I'd like to make a comment too, in that I think that the map that we got that looks like a satellite version, I think it's more clear. This, to me, looks like it's kind of squashed in. I don't know if it's not built not to scale, but when you look at the one that's the satellite, it doesn't look so, the road doesn't look so close to the abutting properties, and that you can see that there would be more room for the buildings than what's shown on there. I'm very happy to hear Nancy say that this is a reduction in the density from what was originally planned. And on the buildings, it looks like there's a lot of green space in the middle. That's what it looks like. But at this point, the motion that we have right now is for the map, which means splitting the land into 3 lots, correct? And we're only voting on that at this particular.
That is correct. The certified survey map is up for a vote.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I know that this is the motion only for the CSM, but the next motion will be a zoning map amendment, and they're both kind of, go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I made my comment, but there are a couple of other comments I'd like to add. I'd like to add to what my colleague, what Trustee Washburn has said, because we went through this for the phase 1 in 2018. Again, we listened to the concern. I can speak for myself, but perhaps the whole board. We are not a rubber stamp board. We listen to each concern and take it seriously. I make a note. I remember that in 2018, I randomly stopped at many of the residences to listen to the concern one-on-one. They're all valid concern. But at the same time, it's our job to take into concern all concern, look at the overall picture, look at overall what's good for the community. That's what you elected us. You elected us to make the best decision. And at that time, when I stopped at many of the houses, and yes, I listened to each one of them, and I wish I could say that every time I agree with everyone. We have, 28, 30,000 residents. I wish I could say we are going to agree one, but you didn't elect us to agree with everyone. You elected us to make the best decision. And again, as we heard, this is a preliminary, it's a CSM survey map, and then we have to zone it to go to the next step. That's a site plan, and like our community development director and planner, the boss and our engineer will also get involved. The site plan come, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's when we will look at the the green space, the stormwater, that's we will see, what the impact on the nearby houses are. Is there any way to make it better? The last comment also, again, when we had the phase 1, it was a very heavy concern from Heartland Village that they are concerned about the traffic. So when I saw this plan, to me, this helps with those concerns because like we heard, if this is, or whatever the modification happen, the campus road will provide the access from H coming south and Tivoli Green Lane, if it stays as it is, that will provide the traffic, coming from the north. So H, whether we like it or not, H has become a north-south connection. So we hear all your concern, we take into consideration, and one concern I do want to address, because that came from almost everyone who spoke, and that is very personal to me, because when we talk about professional people staying in condos, paying quality rents for a quality place, these are not transitional people. They might be working in Milwaukee, Chicago, in Racine, but they are here to make their residence. I am one of them. I rented for 2 years when I moved to this community. Since then, I have raised 2 kids. This is my home. This is my family. This is where my kids and grandkids are raised. I was not a transitional. 2 years in the apartment, and now I am a taxpayer for 32 years in one house, and 3 years ago I moved to another house. Ladies and gentlemen, I was not a transitional 37 years ago, and I don't plan to be a transitional another 10, 20 years from now. That's how our communities grow. Many of these people will probably buy your house in maybe Heartland Village, a few years from now, or maybe on Fanche Road. Many of these people will probably come and buy my house when I am ready to downsize. So I found that one, if we have to go with that, I wonder if Heartland Village will have already ever been built, because I'm sure that when that was being proposed, there was some opposition. I lived on the Emerson Road and the Sunny Slope Road. There were no condos. They all used to be cornfields. We have people moved here and they are raising the family and they are taxpayers. They are contributing citizens to our community. That's how we grow our community. And for that reason, I listened to all of your comment. I'm going to make my decision and move from there.
Anybody else? I don't know if particular, but I may be sitting up here the longest resident of Mount Pleasant. I moved into Mount Pleasant in 1973, and I have no reason to move anyplace else. And I have seen Mount Pleasant go from, maybe 7,000 or 8,000 to now about 28,000. And it has continued to get more people, but it's also continued to grow with very successful people and professional people in a real variety and everything then too. Like I said, I've been here now since 1973, so I've seen the changes and I understand the problems and everything then too. I used to live on the Lewis Sorensen Road. That was where I moved in 1973. When my wife passed away in 2003, I decided to make some changes. And now I have been a resident in the senior apartments over here. And that's exactly where I'm going to be for the rest of my life. The next place I will move to will be just west of the apartments. And you kind of know where that is. It's called a cemetery. I have no other reason to move or anything else at all. So I'm not just new to here. I have seen this village go from a town to a village, and I'm proud of what has happened here, and I'm proud of the work that our people do, and also the people who live here. We try to look out for everybody. Do we serve and make everybody happy? No, but sometimes change does happen. And that's what we've been going through in this village for a number of years. But we also do it in a controlled basis. It's not, helter-skelter or anything like that. We've got some of the best planners in the state of Wisconsin, and these two gentlemen back here, and they take everybody's concern into heart when we get projects and everything done. And we try to also do them not at low prices. We try to attract very good and high quality, and we also want to have something that other people and everything can afford to live in here then too. So moving on. Take a roll call.
Clausen.
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Hewitt.
Aye. Ayes have it. We will move on.
Item 2, I make a motion to approve ordinance 20-2022 for a zoning map amendment application ZMA-07-22 for land along County Trunk Highway H as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please. Robin? Sam?
We went through the entire staff executive summary in the public hearing. We're here to answer any questions that you might need. One of the things Robin rightly pointed out, there was a question about allowed building heights in the RM2 district. They have a maximum for multi-unit buildings of 40 feet. So the adjacent RL1 building height limits for any property that's zoned low density, one would be 35 feet. So these buildings are only allowed to be 5 feet taller than the adjacent zoning height max. And estate lot buildings are allowed to be 40 feet as well. So if there are any properties out there that are zoned RE, residential estate, those are max 40. So that's to answer a height question for the RM2 district.
Any questions?
No, again, I think I'd want to make the same statement that I made before, and that is the zoning is a very important part of the process. The zoning is what triggered the public notices going out, and that, again, this is the follow-up, this is stage 2 of the expansion of this project, coming maybe a little faster than we thought, but the zoning is appropriate for the use. It's appropriate for the neighborhood that was designed in 2018, and it's appropriate to the plan that's been sitting in on these properties as part of our neighborhood planning since that time as well. And so again, I'm going to support it.
Hearing nothing else?
Roll call.
Roll call, yes.
Clausen.
Aye.
Bhatia.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Hewitt.
Aye. Ayes have it. Next item.
Item 3, Trustee Hewitt, Acting President, I make a motion to approve ordinance 22-2022, amending the Village of Mount Pleasant Code of Ordinances, Section 90-420.70, pertaining to sidewalks and pedestrian circulation.
And we've heard that explanation given by our planning.
John.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Okay. You've already have laid that information out. Do you have anything further to add?
I'm available for questions on either this or the next item that any of the board has.
Any questions?
I think the important thing about the sidewalks to note is that this is the key to this. Your last item on the conditions should be your first. This is for rural cross sections only, open ditch only. Otherwise, sidewalks are still required in our community.
Yep, that is a very important distinction and one clarified by our community development director. We just had 2 instances of developments that showed up around on the frontage road and Louis Sorensen Road that had a quarter mile of sidewalk each, and neither of them wanted to build those. So we had this as a possible sort of out for them while basically still achieving the village goals of increasing pedestrian and bicycle access. So that's what it is.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a vote. Move on.
No, we need to vote.
Pardon me?
Need to vote. Call the
Oh,
vote.
I'm sorry.
Roll call.
Roll call, yes.
Clausen.
Aye.
Batya.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Hewitt.
We lose our place here otherwise.
You gotta vote, John.
Aye.
Item 4 on the agenda, I make a motion to approve Ordinance 23-2022, amending the Village of Mount Pleasant Code of Ordinances, Section 90-565.20, pertaining to authorized administrative adjustments.
Second.
Gentlemen?
Again, here for any questions. This is the reasonable accommodation for persons with disabilities from the Chapter 90 zoning code.
Board have any questions? Hearing none. Roll call.
Clausen.
Aye.
Batya.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Hewitt.
Aye. Okay, item number H.
I make a motion to approve a health insurance contract with WCA Group Health Trust, effective 9/1/2022 through 12/31/2023, as
Second.
presented.
Second. Second.
Any discussion?
No, I don't, I'm just looking over here to see if you're gonna make that. Any discussion down here?
Nope.
Nothing.
You know, I think, I'm just going to make one comment, more so than discussion. I think this was very important tonight when we talked about this at the Committee of the Whole, because our current insurance company for our staff and employees gave us notice that they were going bankrupt and were no longer going to be able to serve us, and we did not, our employees, and we did not get a lot of notice on this. And at the end of the day, what our insurance block, as well as Mary Cole, the head of our Human Resources Department, has done, is brought insurance coverage for our employees and staff that's better than the policy we had before, is locked in and guaranteed for a longer period of time, will not impact them negatively. The group of carriers and network is even broader and bigger than our old carrier. So our former insurer going bankrupt was actually a blessing to our employees. So just a comment. Thank you.
Clausen.
Aye.
Batya.
Aye.
Doxy.
Aye.
Washburn.
Aye.
Anastasio.
Aye.
Hewitt.
Aye. Okay, we are down to Trustee Clausen on Civic Affairs.
I have quite a bit to report. July 18th, we had the Waterford Balloon Fest, and that was a huge success. We, the Tourism Commission, supplied them with $2,000. That was one of the grants that we approved. We also have the Bacon Fest is coming up at Roma. That'll be August 5 and 6. Just to give a little bit of perspective, they requested $20,000. We gave them $5,000. So there is quite an extensive evaluation that we go through. The Racine Art Guild, which is the art fair that we're going to be seeing shortly in the first week of August, that's one of the few. They requested only $1,200, so we gave them the full $1,200.
I guess they had all the bacon they could use.
In November, we'll see the Bluegrass sampler. They requested 10,000 and we gave them 5,000. So some of the things that we approved earlier that are going to be coming up, quilts on barns, we gave them $3,000. Animal crackers, which goes at the zoo, we gave them money. And also at the Racine Zoo, we're giving them some money from Jack-o'-lantern for Halloween. So that's one of the things that we do with the money that we're collecting from the hotels, okay? In addition, we help promote, not with monetary, but marketing. A couple weeks ago, we had the Midwest Volleyball Beach Championship down at the beach. And this past weekend, we had the Pro Watercross Volleyball Championships. One of the things that's coming up is the Australian Rules Football Women's National Camp, the first week of August. So there's a lot going on, and I'll continue to share the information on activities that are coming up and how much we are willing to evaluate and give them some money to promote their events. I think it's very nice that you have, that we're supporting, that the Tourism Commission is supporting a lot of events that are not occurring in Mount Pleasant, but in the adjacent areas, because those do bring people to stay at the hotels in Mount Pleasant, and so it's a benefit to all of the communities. Could I ask if the soccer tournaments that are held or lacrosse tournaments and those things, have they asked for money? The soccer tournaments, no, that's a completely different thing. Probably the closest to that is the Australian. Mm-hmm. That's coming. That's more international, and they come here. Mm-hmm. So obviously, and they're here for, I think it's a whole week. So we'll get quite a bit of money from those hotel stays.
Trustee Doxey, did you have something?
No.
Oh, okay, you were looking over here before, so.
I'd like to make a comment. When Tourism Commission was formed, there was some concern expressed about use of the hotel taxes and everything, and what we just heard and what we hear every month in a report from Trustee Clausen, who's on the Tourism Commission, is that the Tourism Commission, we are using the money. We are making the judgment where to use the money. We have the direct control of how best to promote, not Mount Pleasant, because people come to stay in Mount Pleasant, but all the actions are near the lake or so forth. Mm-hmm. So we are doing more than our share of the part to promote Racine County, mm-hmm. the region. But the difference is we control our own destiny. And
anything else from anybody?
Yeah.
I mean our own purse. Yeah. That's it.
You done?
Yep.
Trustee Hewitt, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
No, hold on.
Oh, you're not done?
No. Under report, we were still under tourism. Under reports, I like to make a comment.
Okay.
This is the time that we normally recognize our staff, our people, the community, for your support. And from time to time, I have recognized, and we all have recognized, from engineers to HR to finance and planners. But as earlier, my colleague Trustee Washman, she recognized, and I like to echo that. I think I like to add my kudos to our village attorney, Chris Smith.
Yes.
Look at the opioid that we just approved. Mm-hmm. It was his recommendation against most of the communities in Wisconsin to opt out. So I think we have been very well served. For those out listening who had any concern, you should be proud. This village has been very well served by our attorney, and I hope that he continues to serve us for a long, long time, because what we just heard earlier is a great example. We are getting over $200,000 while our neighbor, which normally gets millions in the city of Racine, are getting nothing. I can't be any more proud. Thank you, Chris.
Yes. Thank you, Chris.
Anybody else?
Good job, Chris.
We
Don't
have a
forget the
motion.
Don't forget the Racine County Fair.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.